Inflation is impacting American consumers, from groceries to new and used cars, and pure greed at dealers. Hi, it's Edward, back with another video. Please take a moment to click the thumbs up button below and consider subscribing to the channel. Please also share this video with your friends. Thank you for your support. Today, I read one financial news article and watched two YouTube videos. I've included links to the article and the two videos in the description below. I encourage you to read the article to support the author and news source, and watch the videos to support the YouTube channels. As a private American citizen, I'd like to report and share my transformative thoughts through commentary regarding small sections of these sources that are of public interest. Today, I read an article on Yahoo Finance put out by the Associated Press and written by Christopher Rugaber, titled, "Consumers Are Increasingly Pushing Back Against Price Increases and Winning." According to the author, fed up with prices that remain about 19% on average above where they were before the pandemic, consumers are fighting back. In grocery stores, they're shifting away from name brands to store brand items, switching to discount stores, or simply buying fewer items like snacks or gourmet foods. Well, my friends, there may be some truth to this. I went to the grocery store this past week and I noticed something that was very interesting. I was looking for the less expensive store brand for several items, and many of these items were completely sold out on the shelves, but the name brand alternatives completely filled the shelves, with overstock lining the very top shelf. I just found this to be very interesting, that people were buying up the less expensive store brand and all of the name brand items in their fancy packaging had not yet been sold. I noticed this in several aisles at the grocery store. I'm really curious if any of you have witnessed this at your local grocery store. If you have, let me know about it in the comment section below so that I know this was not just an isolated instance at the store that I visit. Getting back to the article, the author said more Americans are buying used cars rather than new, forcing some dealers to provide discounts on new cars again. Well, my friends, I can believe this. I spoke to a car dealer recently who told me that this past January was one of the worst Januaries on record. I'm sure sales will pick up now that people are getting their tax refunds, but the dealer I spoke with seemed pretty grim about January. As many of you know, my 2004 Toyota Camry is going to be turning 400,000 miles on the odometer very soon. I suspect it will hit 400,000 sometime in March. I'll make a video when that happens. I told myself I'd keep the car until 400,000 miles and then replace it. I've been looking around at some different dealerships for a replacement vehicle. I thought about buying a 2024 Toyota Camry 4-cylinder because this is the last year that they will be making a non-hybrid Camry. All future Camrys are going to be hybrid, and they will be hitting the dealership lots in May from what Toyota dealerships have told me. I went to one Toyota dealership and looked at a 2024 Toyota Camry, and it had a dealer's installed option listed for paint protection at a cost of $995. Every vehicle at that dealership had this added. I went to another Toyota dealership and every one of their new cars had this paint protection installed as well, but they were charging $1,995. My friend who knows someone who works at one of these dealerships said that it only costs them about $30 to install this. Customers can't decline this because they put it on every car and they can't take it off. I went to a third Toyota dealership and they don't try to make money off customers with this paint protection option. In talking with the salesperson, he said they are not discounting cars at all. I told him I didn't want the new Toyota Camry that they had on the lot because it had a moonroof. I don't want to mess with replacing seals that wear out, resulting in water getting inside the vehicle. I've had to replace the seal on my moonroof twice since owning my Camry. The salesperson talked to the new car manager who said they would take the price of the moonroof off the car since I really didn't want that option. The salesperson said he couldn't believe they would actually do that since they have not been discounting cars. I thanked them for trying to put together a deal, but I still don't want a car with a moonroof. I didn't want to be rude, so I didn't tell the salesperson that I'd never buy a new car without them discounting it a lot further than what they had already proposed. Once I find the vehicle that I truly want, I'll enter into negotiation to get the best price possible. I'll likely have to walk out of several dealerships and wait for them to call me to try to get me to come back in if they are truly desperate to move units before the end of the month. I found another Toyota Camry online that was closer to what I was looking for, and I asked the dealer to send me a sheet to itemize their doc fee and all of the other junk fees that they charge. I couldn't believe all of the junk that they are trying to charge for. I also thought it was interesting that they assumed I'd be financing the vehicle because the sheet listed the interest rate as 9.99% for 84 months. Like I'd really finance a vehicle with a 9.99% interest rate for 84 months. Sometimes the arrogance of these dealerships is unbelievable. I guess a lot of people must just want a car so bad they are willing to take one with overpriced paint protection, a high interest rate, and finance it for 7 years. I suppose after doing deals like this with thousands of people, the dealerships simply assume this is the norm and believe all customers will agree to the same type of transaction. It's only us who can stand up and revolt against this. If all customers don't tolerate this anymore, the dealerships may have to cave. I doubt it will happen though. I spent some time looking at some used vehicles. I found a 2011 Lexus ES350, which is basically like a Toyota Avalon from a mechanical standpoint. There's a prominent person in my area with a $300 million net worth who's still driving his old Toyota Avalon, which is about as old as my Toyota Camry. The 2011 Lexus ES350 that I looked at had very low mileage for the year, no accident history, and it was very clean. This was being sold at a Bentley dealership. The Carfax showed it had been serviced at Lexus ever since it was new, so I assumed it was up to date on its service. I decided to dig a little deeper. I got the VIN number and I went over to the Lexus dealership. The service advisor was nice enough to pull up the car in their computer. Carfax was right. The car had always been serviced at the Lexus dealership at the correct service intervals. However, there were multiple instances where the customer had declined to have recommended service completed throughout the years. In fact, the last time it was at Lexus, they recommended that the leaking rack and pinion steering assembly be replaced, which they wanted $2,300 to do. They also recommended that the spark plugs be replaced at a cost of approximately $800. In addition to that, they recommended that one of the catalytic converters be replaced because it was leaking. As the service advisor scrolled through the screen, there were other instances where the customer had declined service. Anytime they recommend service, they take pictures, and all of those pictures were in the computer database for me to look at. I decided to pass on this car. The service advisor said a lot of people at the Lexus dealership decline service, and it is really hard to find a higher mileage used vehicle with up-to-date service and no accident history. I thought about buying a slightly used Toyota Camry or Lexus ES350 that was up to date on service, but there are some things that concern me about these newer vehicles. They both have 8-speed transmissions that don't have a dipstick. It's recommended that the transmission fluid be changed every 60,000 miles, and the technician needs to be very careful when doing so to make sure that the fluid level is correct. In terms of the current generation Toyota Camry, they have a 4-cylinder engine that takes 0W16 oil, and many mechanics recommend changing it every 5,000 miles instead of every 10,000 miles, especially if the car sits outside where more moisture can get inside the engine. These engines are designed to be very efficient, but they are also very finicky. They take exactly 4.8 quarts of oil. I could see some lazy owners just dumping 5 quarts into the engine instead of putting exactly 4.8 quarts in. While these newer engines and transmissions allow for great gas mileage, they are not built like tanks like my old 2004 Toyota Camry. I really do not want to buy a slightly used Toyota Camry or Lexus ES350 not knowing how meticulously the vehicle was maintained just to save a little money on depreciation and end up with expensive problems down the road. My 2004 Toyota Camry was made in Japan. It has a J in the VIN number. The new Toyota Camrys are made in Kentucky. I watched an interesting video on YouTube put out by AMD on the Car Care Nut channel titled, "Should You Buy a Toyota Camry Hybrid? 1-Year Ownership Update." He bought one of these Camrys brand new that was made in Kentucky. Overall, he likes his car, but he said there are some things that he doesn't like, such as the rattles from the dashboard and air coming in from the driver's door. He showed on camera how many of the body panels don't line up well and how the driver's door does not line up well. I got curious and I was wondering what the new Prius quality was like since they are still made in Japan. I found a video on YouTube titled, "How's the quality of Japan-made Toyota Prius? Is it truly world-class?" This video was put out by the Automotive Press channel. Automotive engineer David Chow used a gauge to measure the gaps on the panels of the Prius, and they were almost perfectly consistent around the car. He also measured the paint with a paint meter, which was also impressive. The difference in quality between the Camry made in Kentucky and the Prius made in Japan seemed to be very different. I decided to drive a 2024 Toyota Prius. I really liked the exterior styling, but I hated the aggressively sloped front windshield and the strange gauge cluster on top of the dash. I also thought the LE version felt very cheap inside. Please understand, I'm not trying to discourage you from buying any of these vehicles. I'm just sharing my opinion. During my car research, I talked with Geico Insurance on the phone, and they have something that is pretty interesting. If you buy a brand new car, you can get mechanical breakdown coverage for the car for approximately $4 per month for 100,000 miles or 7 years with a $250 deductible. And this coverage is bumper to bumper from what I was told. This could be nice peace of mind given how high-tech modern cars are. This comes out to be a lot cheaper than any of the extended warranties sold to customers through the finance office of many dealerships. Many of these dealerships make a tremendous amount of money selling these extended warranty products that are very overpriced. Depending on the warranty company that you go with, some will try to wiggle out of paying for claims. Many people don't know that these finance offices at the dealerships are also making money from the interest rate that they are charging. A friend of mine told me the finance offices at a minimum are making 2% for each financed vehicle. In other words, if you are paying 10% for the interest rate on the loan, the dealer's cost is 8%. He said in many instances, the spread is much more than 2%. Dealerships are making money by not negotiating on the price of the new car, charging a crazy amount of money for paint protection, dock fees, overpriced extended warranties, and from the financing of the vehicle. You know I complete a lot of research, so I called the tire store where I buy my tires. I asked them to price out the tires for 17-inch and 18-inch rims that these new Toyota Camrys come with, so I'd know how much money I'd be spending in the future. I started asking them questions about aluminum rims that get damaged from potholes. I asked them if they have replaced tires and wheels from protection programs sold to customers at car dealerships. The person that I talked with on the phone said they have had several people who have tried to use their protection program coverage to get rims and tires replaced, and in every instance, the protection program company acted as though they were going to cover the damage, but they then found a loophole in the policy to wiggle out of paying. He said one tire and rim was damaged by a curb, and apparently in the fine print, curb damage doesn't count. Only something like a pothole would count. Another person had a rim that continued to leak air badly because of aluminum oxidation, and the representative at the protection program said oxidation is something that is not covered. The person I spoke with at the tire store said in his opinion, tire and rim protection programs sold by many car dealerships in the finance office are a complete waste of money. Until you start asking questions and talking to different people, you really don't know what you are buying. I really worry about some people who are overpaying for new and used vehicles. I worry about the huge negative equity position that a lot of people are going to be in. I also worry about people throwing away their hard-earned money on things like paint protection or tire and wheel protection. It's unfortunate that greed has gotten so bad at a variety of businesses. On the topic of greed, I called my doctor when I was sick requesting an antibiotic. I was told I had to come in for a visit. They would not call in a script for me without coming into the office first. In other words, they wanted to make money from a doctor's visit. Then I was told it is their practice to test for RSV, flu, COVID, and strep. I told them I had already tested for COVID at home, and they said it didn't matter. They needed to test for all 4 things before they would see me. I asked them how much all of these tests were going to cost. They said they didn't know. If this is their standard procedure and they do this all the time, how do they not know? They told me I could call the hospital system that the clinic is part of and they could provide me with an estimate. Well, I did that about a year ago for something else, and it took over a week to get the estimate emailed to me, and it was only an estimate and not what I was actually going to pay. I told them I didn't want to suffer for another week waiting for an estimate. What's crazy to me is that doctors' offices can sell something without telling you how much it costs. This would be like going to a car dealership and saying, hey, I want to buy that 2024 Honda Accord, how much is it? And they say, we don't know. You need to just agree to buy it, and then we'll send you a bill in the mail a few weeks later, and you'll find out what your monthly payment and interest rate will be at that time. Let's really hope this doesn't come to fruition for car dealerships in the future. They really do not need to be modeling business practices after what medical groups are doing. The medical community is so messed up. It's even worse than these car dealerships, in my opinion. What do you think about all this? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Please keep in mind that everything in this video is for entertainment purposes only, and nothing in this video is financial advice or advice of any kind. If you need advice, seek advice from a qualified professional in good standing who puts your interests first and foremost. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Please also consider sharing this video with your friends. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. I want to also thank all of my channel members. Check out some of the great books that I suggest you consider reading in the description below. I've included Amazon affiliate links to these books. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Stay healthy and wealthy. I'll see everyone in the next video.